Well, here we are again. We had two press conferences today, with another one with Rich Rodriguez and first time from Rod West. Now, most of it was standard stuff, but there were some things, well, I found them interesting. A lot of them I don't think the media is going to cover, and some I don't think the media is covering right. We'll get to that. First, I am Forrest Poston, still and always, I think. And this is WVU Football Going Deep. Please, if you haven't subscribed, I'd appreciate it. Share, make comments, click the thumbs up, click the notification bell, and do those things that convince YouTube to suggest this video and channel to other people, which has not been happening. I'm a little concerned. And please, of course, there is a thanks button down below the video if you'd like to click on that, and I don't think I would mind. Now, press conferences. I'm going to start with Rod West. In terms of things about the roster, nothing special, and he would not name who he thought was doing well. He was asked and said he'd rather not, and I don't blame him. Of course, I'd like to hear it, but I don't blame him. But yeah. Now, of course, in some respects, I find it interesting that, the more you listen to the coaches, the more it is the same. We're not getting coaches that are saying things different from what we heard last year. A lot of people think we're hearing stuff different, but we're not. It's being said differently, but we're not hearing different ideas, really. And Rich Rodriguez even pretty much said he's not saying anything different. I'll get to him. What I really liked from Rod West, talking about player relationships, and you may have noticed I'm big on that. And, he said it starts by developing the relationship, communication, and trust. And I think partly he thinks it's just the right thing to do, but it also helps you coach better because you can push a player harder if you establish trust first. And for one thing, if you have trust and you push a player, whether you push them while shouting or some other means, you get less resentment. And any energy and thought going into resentment is not going into learning and playing. So getting that trust, that smoother interaction, even when you are, trying hard not to say you suck. It's better. Also said, he has meetings with the players that are not about football, just talking about other things, family, life. Get to know the players so you know how each one can best be coached. Now, that doesn't mean you push some and don't push others. It's more about how you push them. And everybody does respond differently. And that's not blame. And in any teaching field, it is up to the teacher, the coach, to do it the way that works. And if it works differently for every single player in your room, you do it differently for every single player in your room. It's your job to get the most that you can out of each player. And knowing how they think, feel, work, and adjusting is how you get better results. Not everybody's going to do it that way. Certainly not every teacher. Dang few teachers do it. Yeah. I remember grad school, we had a presentation, and it was about this amazing new study that discovered that people learn differently. Well, by golly, I think that's been known since freaking Socrates. So we just don't do it. Anyway, so I really have high hopes for Rod West. I mean, he is not the most energizing speaker. He did not look comfortable. Hopefully, he'll get used to things. But I definitely have high hopes for him as a coach. And as far as reports overall, well, you got players who do some things well and some things badly. Everybody has made mistakes, and he still figures they're all going to get better, and it's still open competition. It is not set who's starting or, too deep, whatever. Now, Rich Rodriguez, one of the very first things he said was, you're never in condition for spring camp. That's the way it is. Spring camp is never where you really want to be. And that's not just first year. Spring, you're just not all together. You may have been working out all winter, but things just aren't there yet. And then you get in better shape over summer, and fall, you get really into playing shape. And you have to remember that with pretty much everything he says later and what he's said in previous press conferences. And he's pointed this out. This is not new. This is not just West Virginia. This is just the way it works because you're dealing with humans. So is he happy with everything the players and coaches are doing? No, he's not. But he repeated, that's the way it is at this point. It's what he expects. He doesn't want to expect it, but he knows this is the way it happens. So, yeah, players aren't doing as well at times as he'd like. Coaches aren't doing as well at times as he'd like. The overall practice efficiency is not yet where he wants it to be at times. And he said over and over again, this is, under the circumstances, this is essentially normal. Now, meantime, you get a lot of people I'm seeing media and boards, saying, oh, hey, I like how Rodriguez is just telling it like it is. I got tired of all the, positive stuff from Brown. You weren't listening. Brown said same dang thing every spring. And, pretty much every practice. There was some good stuff. There was some bad stuff. This is what we're going to do about it. That's what he said. Go back and listen. It's still up on YouTube. He wasn't happy. Spring, we had too many guys on the ground. That was one of his phrases. Didn't have the intensity, didn't have the energy, had it for a while, had it on offense or defense, not the other. It was always good and bad. That's the way things work. Now, okay. And hey, I'm not plugging Neil Brown. I'm just telling you, Rich Rodriguez is only different in style, not in content. I mean, Rodriguez also said, yeah, he doesn't want players to be soft. No coach does want players to be soft. Everybody wants players to be in shape, play hard. Maybe a difference in the degree to which you push it. That's it. Yeah. It's not this coach or that coach lets players be soft. It's not that different. Let's see here. Yeah, I did like, he said a lot of the problem isn't the players, it's the coaches. But it's not just that this is a new coaching staff, a lot of whom he has not worked with before, or haven't worked with him, or they worked together when he was, offensive coordinator someplace, but not head coach. But I think the biggest thing is the number of coaches you have now. He's trying to get, 20 coaches or something, all on the same page, while recognizing they all have to do it their own way. He wants the, concept overall, what they're after, and he wants the pattern. If a player makes a mistake, he wants them to point it out then, when they made it. Some are more accustomed to pointing it out later when they can go over it in more detail. It's a little bit different. Is one way really better than another? No, but it does have to fit your overall system. And when you've got this many coaches all trying to adapt, get to know each other, get to know the players, get to know the approach, it takes some time. And Rodriguez knows that. And this is the guy who admits that he lacks patience. But he's being patient because he knows this is just the way it's going to be until you work your way through it. He's got good people. He knows he has good people. But, is he happy that everybody's not quite on the same page yet? No, he's not. He shouldn't be. Is he mad? No, he's not. And he shouldn't be. And if you watch him at this press conference, he's not angry. He's not upset. I mean, he's coming from practice and he's got stuff on his mind. He's not laughing and smiling as much as he was before spring practice started. But he's now, working and got things to think about and cover. He still makes jokes. He still laughs at these press conferences. It's frustrating for him, but it's not wrong. Things are not off in any way that he is worried about. Or even he's not mad about it. Probably was mad during practice, but that's his approach. Now, he did point out the coaches have lots of meetings. We're getting a little bit of insight into how he does more of the coaching. Yes, you'll get the offensive coaches together to watch the offense, defensive coaches together to watch the defense, but they also do meetings with the entire coaching staff, watching and talking about both sides of the ball, which helps him because he has to get to know every coach and every player. He wants to know, why did this player, maybe on defense, do this? And who is it? So there's a lot of work for them to do. Coaches have to gel. And Rodriguez talked about having good coach chemistry. Yeah, he said the word chemistry, and I like that. And I think the chemistry is going to come together from the coaches we've seen so far. But it does take time, and it is spring. Everybody is happy, more or less, that the season doesn't start next week. As fans, we'd kind of like it to. We want college football to be a 12-month season. But it might be a problem if it started next week. But every team would have the same problem because it is spring for every team. Let's see, yeah. Rodriguez also pointed out that he coaches coaches. So he's not just working with the players. He likes to coach the coaches on how to coach. Not by changing their, who they are. He wants coaches have to coach based on who they are. He knows that. He recognizes that. He counts on that. But he can still help them apply it to his system, refine it, and he also talks about picking up things from the young coaches. Talking about how he picks coaches. He did say, he said he'd like sometimes to talk to him just because he might learn something new. And I'm not sure he would have said that 17 years ago. Now, semi-specifics, talking about cornerback, which is, of course, a big topic because it's been an issue. Now, I think of course, 2 years ago, it was the injuries again. Last year, I really think, I've said over and over again, the defensive psychology coming down from Jordan Leslie. He got hung up on playing it safe way too much. I don't know exactly why, but I really think that was far and away the number one problem with the defense. Just being increasingly cautious, which is always going to affect corners. But he's not unhappy with the corners. They've done some good things, done some bad things. He did say he thinks cornerback may be the hardest to play as a freshman. Not quarterback, but cornerback. And largely because of the physical aspect. He said, it's not a talent issue, it's physical. And guess what? That's something Brown talked about for years on end. Because, if you don't have the weight and muscle to hold your own against 22, 23-year-old receivers, they knock you off your path. They make the catch. So again, same thing. Talk about it a little bit differently. But he said, need to have, he wants a solid 2 deep at corner. Specifically have to have 3 corners that can play. Now, of course, you want more than a 2 deep, but I don't think you necessarily need a 5 deep, and that's where we are right now in the cornerback room. And now here's where we are. Two things. One, Rodriguez kind of slipped in this statement of probably needing to get a half dozen or so in the portal after spring. And a lot of since he was talking about corners, a lot of people are, did he just say we need 6 more corners? No, he didn't. He didn't say things really well, little stream of consciousness, public speaking, no script he's working from. He's probably looking at about 6 new guys being brought in total, not just at cornerback. Now, of course, that's variable depending on who leaves, which he won't know and we won't know until pretty much when it happens. Well, he'll know some of them before that. But he's not going to dump that many corners, and he's not going to carry 16 cornerbacks on a 105-man roster. When I saw that in the media before I watched the actual press conference, it's like, what? And then I watch it and it's like, oh, okay. This is actually relatively clear and not a big deal. He said before, we're going to need to get a few guys in the portal. That's nothing new really. Now also he was asked, Rodney Gallagher played some on defense. Will he do that? And he said no. Now he also said if we had to play Gallagher on defense, it would mean we did not do the proper job, recruiting corners. And some people are, oh, look at him, he's taking shots at Brown or whatever, blah, blah, blah. No. I mean, for one thing, it was an experiment last year because Gallagher showed some special skills as a defensive back, but not as a complete back. So they worked with him a little. They tried it out in games. They didn't end up doing it a whole lot, and he was actually getting better and better as a receiver. And, so that experiment, it became less necessary, and it wasn't really going anywhere. Probably would have been dropped this year, whoever was coach. And when you consider the number of corners brought in through the portal, corners with 1 year left, I mean, if we had to play Gallagher as a corner or a nickel, it's actually, I think, where he played, after bringing all those guys in, it definitely would have meant you screwed something up. But, I don't know that Rodriguez had even paid that much attention to the fact that Gallagher played or why. So don't read anything into that. Rodriguez has not taken shots at the previous staff. Yeah, he said basically he got sick watching the Tech game. Everybody did because, the team quit. And we don't know why. It wasn't necessarily the staff, by the way. We don't know what happened. Something happened. I've said that before. Something happened. Something big happened. I'd like to know what it was. I think we should know what it was. And I don't think the media is going to dig around and find out what it was. And I think if they did, they might get in trouble because I don't think anybody wants us to know what it was. And I'm not accusing anybody. I just think there was something that happened that probably shouldn't have. Anyway, that covers a lot of territory, doesn't it? Okay, that was the press conference. So I increasingly like the coaching staff. Don't think they're perfect. I don't think I'm perfect. There have been rumors that I am not. And I think they're true. But I do like the coaching staff. I still don't like what's being done to the game. But it's kind of funny. My expectations for this season are going up. And I look around and I see a lot of attitudes going down. Now I guess some expert did predict good things soon. I don't know what they said about this coming season. A lot of people still say, oh yeah, it's going to get good quickly. But this season, now I have, significant hopes for this season. But we'll see what happens. No more updates on injuries at this point. Nobody's asked. I have been asking on the 24/7 board specifically why nobody is asking. We have a couple of players who are not on the roster, who are transfers or additions through JUCO that were expected to be around and playing, and they're not showing on the updated roster, and nobody knows why. Coaches, it may be something coaches can't talk about in the press conferences, but the injuries, yeah. We've not gotten anything on Vestorinen. Oren Fisher was in a leg brace last year. Don't know how he's doing. Nothing on White. And waiting to see. All right. I will get back to you, I guess, when I've got something else to say. In the meantime, so long.